The knock on my office door wasn't gentle. It was the kind of knock that already knew the answer before it asked the question. Andrea Baptiste? Rivergate PD, we need you to come with us. I stood up so fast my chair rolled back and hit the window behind me. Through the glass, I could see the parking lot of my own company, Baptiste Logistics Group, the company I built from a single box truck and a $4,000 loan when I was 26. And standing right there, arms crossed, wearing his good church suit like he was posing for a photograph, was my father, Kenneth Baptiste. Before we continue, please hit that like button and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'd love to see how far this story reaches. Now let's continue. He wasn't surprised. He wasn't even watching the door. He was watching me. "Ma'am, we have a warrant," the officer said, sliding a paper across my desk. "Embezzlement, falsifying business records." My hands went cold. My twins, Julie and Josiah, 7 years old, were sitting in my office lobby right now because it was take your kid to work day at their school, and I'd promised them ice cream after. I could hear Julie's laugh through the door. "This is insane," I said. "I haven't falsified anything. Ask my accountant. Ask." "Ma'am, please turn around." The cuffs were cold, colder than I expected. My son's voice cracked through the hallway. "Mommy?" And that sound will live in my chest until the day I die. And my mother, Delphine, standing 3 feet from my father the entire time, in her lavender cardigan, holding her purse with both hands like a shield, she didn't say one word. Not one. She looked at the floor. That silence was louder than any accusation in that warrant. I didn't know it yet, but that walk out of my own building, past my own name etched in brushed steel on the wall, in front of my own children, was only the opening move in something my father had been planning for 11 months. To understand how a 61-year-old deacon could stand in a parking lot and watch police walk his daughter out in handcuffs, you have to understand what Baptiste Logistics actually was, and who actually built it. I started in 2014 with one truck, a laptop with a cracked screen, and a business degree from Southern University that everyone in my family treated like a hobby. My father had wanted me to become a paralegal, something stable, he said, something that doesn't embarrass this family if it fails. 11 years later, Baptiste Logistics Group ran 43 trucks across 3 states, cleared $6.2 million in annual revenue, and employed 118 people, several of them cousins my father had personally asked me to hire when they needed work. I never said no. Family was family. My father had put in $4,000 as a starter loan back in 2014. I paid it back within 8 months, with interest he never asked for. That was the full extent of his financial involvement, ever. But somewhere in the last 2 years, in his mind, that $4,000 had transformed into ownership, into entitlement, into the belief that Baptiste Logistics wasn't my company, it was his legacy, temporarily on loan to me. It started small, him showing up unannounced to check on things, him referring to my employees as his people. Then, 6 months before the arrest, he sat across from me at Sunday dinner and said the sentence that would detonate our entire family. "Andrea, it's time you sign the company over to your brother. He needs it more than you do." I laughed. I actually laughed, thinking it was a joke. It was not a joke. Malik Baptiste was 34 years old and had never held a job longer than 14 months. He wasn't stupid. My brother was actually brilliant. A business degree from Morehouse, charisma that could sell ice to a penguin. But he had a pattern. Start something, get bored or reckless, lose it, and land right back on our parents' doorstep with a new excuse and an old smile. By the time my father demanded I hand him my company, Malik had already burned through 2 failed restaurants, a defaulted car dealership franchise, and, I would learn later, nearly $340,000 in gambling debt to people who did not send polite reminder letters. My father's plan was simple in his mind. Malik needed a company. I had a company. Therefore, I would give Malik my company. He's your brother, my father said that Sunday. Like blood alone was a business plan. You have a husband, you have children, you have enough. He has nothing. I built this with my hands, Daddy. I didn't inherit it. I earned it. A family business belongs to the family, he snapped back, not to one person's pride. I looked at my mother. She rearranged the greens on her plate and said nothing, the way she always did when my father raised his voice, the way she'd done my entire childhood, every time his temper filled a room like smoke. I said no, calmly, clearly. I offered to bring Malik on as an operations manager at $95,000 a year, a real title, real mentorship, a real path to earning equity over time if he proved himself. My father stood up from the table so hard his chair fell backward. You'll regret this, he said. You have no idea what you just started. I had no idea how right he was. 2 weeks after that dinner, my company's outside auditor, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Carol Whitfield, called me with a strange question. Andrea, did you authorize someone to request copies of last year's tax filings and bank reconciliation statements? I hadn't. Someone claiming to be your business partner called our office, said his name was Kenneth Baptiste. My father wasn't my business partner. He wasn't a shareholder. He wasn't an officer. He had no legal standing to request anything. Carol hadn't given him the documents. She'd flagged it and called me instead. But the fact that he tried told me everything. He was building something, gathering ammunition. My father was a retired postal supervisor, not a criminal mastermind, but he had 35 years of watching how paperwork could be twisted into a weapon if you knew which office to walk into and which forms to fill out, with just enough truth mixed into the lie. I called him directly. Daddy, did you try to pull my company's financial records? Silence. Then I have a right to know what's happening to something I helped start. You loaned me $4,000 in 2014. I paid it back with interest. You have no legal right to my books. We'll see about that, he said, and hung up. That night I sat my husband, Ronald, down at our kitchen table. Something's coming, I told him. I don't know what it is yet, but he's not going to let this go. Ronald took my hand. Whatever it is, we face it together. Document everything from here on out. I didn't listen closely enough. I thought something coming meant a lawsuit, a nasty family blow-up, maybe him trying to turn cousins against me at the next reunion. I never imagined he'd call the police and accuse his own daughter of a crime she didn't commit. Here is what I learned only after the arrest, piece by piece, mostly from my company's lawyer, and later from a detective who actually believed me. My father had reached out to Malik's old business school friend, a man named Corey Danvers, who now worked in the finance office of a competing logistics company 2 counties over. Corey owed my father a favor. My father had once helped Corey's mother with a housing situation back when he worked at the post office. Favors like that never really expire in families like ours. My father asked Corey to help him build a paper trail. Corey, either out of loyalty or naivety, created falsified invoices that appeared to route money from Baptiste Logistics into a shell account, an account my father then linked, using forged signatures, to my name. It was sloppy, it was reckless, but it was enough to get a detective interested, especially once my father filed a sworn statement claiming he had reason to believe his daughter was hiding company assets and defrauding investors who did not exist, except on paper he had helped manufacture. He didn't need it to hold up in court forever. He only needed it to hold up long enough to get me arrested, humiliated, and desperate enough to sign whatever he put in front of me just to make it stop. That was the whole plan. Not justice. Leverage. My own father weaponized the criminal justice system against me because I told him no. And the worst part? My mother knew. She'd overheard him on the phone with Corey 3 weeks before it happened. She said nothing. Not to me, not to anyone. I need you to sit with this moment, because it's the one that changed everything. Julie's ice cream trip, Josiah's backpack, still slung over one small shoulder, cartoon dinosaurs printed on the fabric. My son watching two officers walk his mother out of the building with her wrists bound behind her back. "Mommy, why do you have handcuffs?" Josiah asked, his voice trembling in that particular way children's voices tremble right before they cry. I forced my face into something calm, something safe. "It's a big misunderstanding, baby. Mommy will be home tonight, I promise." I have never broken a promise to my children before or since, and I meant that one with everything in me, even though in that moment I had no idea if I could keep it. My father stood there. He did not step forward to comfort his grandchildren. He did not even look at them. He looked at me, and there was something in his face I will never forget. Not rage, not guilt, satisfaction. My mother finally moved, but not toward me. She walked to my children, knelt down, and said, "Grandma's got you, sweethearts. Let's get that ice cream." She took my children's hands and walked them away from their handcuffed mother without a single word to me. Not, "I'm sorry," not, "This is wrong," not even a glance back. As the officer guided me into the back of the patrol car, I watched my mother's lavender cardigan disappear around the corner with my babies, and I understood something with total clarity. My father hadn't just declared war on me. My mother had chosen a side, and it wasn't mine. I spent 9 hours in a holding cell at Rivergate County Jail before my one phone call was processed. I didn't call my husband first. I called Carol Whitfield, my auditor, because I knew if anyone could start pulling threads immediately, it was her. "Andrea, thank God. Where are you?" "Rivergate County." "Carol, I need every financial record, every bank statement, every signature verification you can pull before tomorrow morning. I did not do this." "I never thought you did," she said, and something in my chest cracked open with relief, because it was the first time all day someone had said those words to me without hesitation. By the time Ronald arrived with a bail bondsman and my lawyer, a sharp, unshakable woman named Karen Marsh, Carol had already found the first crack in my father's plan. The shell account transaction dates didn't match my company's actual payroll cycle. Whoever built the fake documents didn't know that Baptiste Logistics processed payroll on the 15th and the last business day of the month, not the 1st and 20th, like the falsified invoices showed. "Someone who doesn't actually work inside your company made these," Karen said, studying the printouts under the fluorescent jailhouse lights. "Someone close enough to know your business existed, but not close enough to know how it actually runs." I thought of Corey Danvers immediately, and I thought of my father, standing in that parking lot, watching his daughter get handcuffed like he was watching a movie he already knew the ending to. I made bail at 2:47 a.m. My children were already asleep. I stood in their doorway for 20 minutes just listening to them breathe, and I made a decision standing right there in the dark. I wasn't signing anything, and I wasn't staying quiet either. 3 days later, my father called me. Not to apologize, to negotiate. "This whole mess can disappear," he said, like he was offering me a gift. "Corey can walk back his statement. The detective already has doubts. All you have to do is sign the transfer papers." Malik's lawyer drew up. 51% to him. You keep the rest. This all goes away, Andrea. I sat in my car outside my children's school, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles ached. "You had me arrested," I said, my voice shaking with a fury I had never let myself feel toward my father before. In front of my children, my son asked me why I was wearing handcuffs, Daddy. Do you understand that? He's 7. He's going to remember that for the rest of his life. "You forced my hand," he said, and there it was. No remorse, only justification. "You were too stubborn to just do the right thing for this family." The right thing for this family was never letting a company I built from nothing get handed to a man who's never once had to build anything from scratch. The right thing would have been you standing up for me instead of manufacturing a crime. Watch your tone with me. No, I said, and something in me finally, permanently, broke free. I am done watching my tone. I am done being reasonable with a man who used the police as a weapon against his own daughter. You crossed a line. There is no walking back from. You will never get one share, one signature, $1 of what I built, and you are going to answer for what you did, publicly, legally, and completely. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but for the first time in 11 months, my spine felt straight. Detective Marla Owens was assigned to the fraud unit reviewing the original complaint, and once Carol Whitfield's documentation landed on her desk, the payroll date mismatches, the forged signature analysis from a certified handwriting expert, and, most damning of all, a shaken and guilt-ridden Corey Danvers who agreed to give a full statement in exchange for reduced charges, the case against me collapsed within 2 weeks. But it didn't just collapse. It reversed direction entirely. My father was charged with filing a false police report, conspiracy to commit fraud, and forgery. Corey took a plea deal and testified that Kenneth Baptiste had orchestrated the entire scheme, promising him a management position at Baptiste Logistics once Malik took over, a position that, of course, my father had no actual authority to promise. At the arraignment, I watched my father in handcuffs for the first time in his life, in the exact same courthouse hallway where I had been fingerprinted 3 weeks earlier. He didn't look at me. My mother sat 2 rows behind him, alone, her lavender cardigan replaced by black, twisting a tissue in her hands. Afterward, in the parking lot, she finally approached me. "Andrea, I need you to understand, I was scared of him. I've been scared of him for 39 years. That doesn't explain why you took my children away from me instead of standing beside me," I said. "You had a choice in that moment, Mama. You chose him, again." She had no answer for that, just tears, and an apology that came 11 months and 1 arrest too late. Malik, to his credit, called me that same week. "I never asked him to do this," he said. "I didn't know until it already happened. I'm sorry, Andrea. I really am." I believed him. It was a start. My father pled guilty 8 months later to a reduced charge and served 14 months, with the remainder of his sentence on probation. Baptiste Logistics Group closed out that year with our highest revenue in company history, $7.4 million, because our clients, our drivers, our employees, all of them stood behind me the second the truth came out. Carol Whitfield became my chief financial officer. Karen Marsh still handles all of our legal work today. Malik took the operations manager position I originally offered him. No shortcuts, no handouts. He's earned 2 promotions since, on merit, and last spring he bought his first house with his own name on the deed. My mother and I are still rebuilding, slowly, carefully. She goes to therapy now, something she never would have considered before. We talk every Sunday. It's not what it used to be, and honestly, I'm grateful for that, because what it used to be was built on her silence. As for my children, Julie and Josiah don't remember the handcuffs the way I feared they would. What they remember, they tell me now, is that their mother came home that night, just like she promised, and that she never, ever stopped fighting for what belonged to her. I named a new company scholarship after that promise. It's called the Keep Your Word Fund, and it goes to first-generation entrepreneurs, mostly young Black women, who need a small loan to start something the world doesn't believe they can finish. My father built his legacy on control. I built mine on keeping my word, to my children, to my employees, and finally, to myself. That's the difference between us. It always was. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe for more incredible content, and tell me in the comments what you would have done in this situation. I'll catch you in the next one.